This podcast has been brought to you by Podcast Nation.
All it really comes down to is I had to give up all of the things I wanted to get the things I already had.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a clusterfuck, isn't it?
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
You're listening to the Laughing Couple podcast with your hosts, Brittany and Ryan Ostafy. Join them weekly as they discuss topics such as relationships, kids, sex, parenting, all unfiltered and all with a healthy dose of laughter. Please welcome your hosts, Brittany and Ryan Ostafy.
Yesterday, I was making coffee and I said to Ryan, "How are your balls?" And he was like, "Well, take a look." And then I turn around. He's just got his fucking balls right here. He's like, "How do they look?" I was like, "They're black." And he was like, "Yeah, there you go." I was like, "Okay, so are you good?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay."
Yeah, they don't hurt anymore, but they are.
Well, every once in a while, you're like, "Oh."
Well, every once in a while, I feel it.
So I actually don't know.
But yeah, I would say if I was awake for 18 hours in a day, I'd have a total of 4 minutes where it doesn't feel good.
Got it.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. In all fairness, before the vasectomy, I probably would have had the same thing.
How
You
many
accidentally sit on one, or your pants aren't
How
comfortable.
many sessions did they say that you needed to have?
40 sessions.
40 sessions before what?
40 sessions, 3 months before the sperm is no longer, before the risk of the sperm is gone.
And what did they say, like anything about sex?
What do you mean? What did they say about sex?
Like, did they say, like, take it easy for a bit or?
You would hope that they would, but no, they said, have at it, Ryan. Just use a condom.
Really?
Yeah, they said your risk
Really?
of pregnancy over the next 3 months is still there.
Oh, okay. But it's not like increased.
No.
No.
It's not like the sperm were like, we got one more chance. Let's do this. Let's go. Find that motherfucking egg.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
None of them are doing that.
No,
None of them are aware that they're all dying.
I just meant like obviously, yeah, use a condom or like just don't finish inside. Right.
Yeah, like we can
Like,
continue to
it's
do.
not like there's a bigger risk, like if you were pulling out.
What
it's
you're
not
actually
like,
sharing is that we haven't had sex since I've had my vasectomy.
Well, yeah, I'm just wondering if we're like allowed to, but it's also like you were in pain.
We are absolutely allowed
I
to,
honestly
and that's
didn't
why I
know
keep
that.
asking for it every single day.
No, I honestly didn't know that. I thought that there were.
I'm not asking for something I can't have. I'm not Cooper.
No, but I was.
I want to be a real boy.
You were in a lot of pain, so I was also like wondering how that would work.
It would work the same. I just deal with it.
That would be like the balls hitting, like that would hurt, no?
The balls never hurt. It was never my testicles that hurt. It was always what do you call it, Jake? Your sex spot?
What?
Right out of your groin. Jake's like, no, not my taint.
What's a taint? I'm learning all these words.
The taint?
Yeah, what's that?
The taint is the chota. It's the spot between the balls and the butthole.
It's a flat piece of skin.
It's called the taint?
Yeah.
No?
Yes, it's the taint.
I've never heard that word
Also
in my
known
life.
as a chota.
A lot on this pod.
That's
Wow.
Chota Boy.
I've heard of
You remember
chota.
that movie?
I remember you making that.
Bless
Excuse
you.
me, chota. I've heard of chota.
Chota. Taint,
Chowda.
chota.
Chowda.
Yeah.
Isn't that Mayor Quimby?
It's a chowda.
From The Simpsons?
Chowda.
Chowda.
Yes. That's the episode
okay,
where the
I
guy
honestly-
accidentally killed himself in the kitchen.
I honestly thought you were like supposed to refrain from having sex
Not at all.
for a little bit. Well, it would be.
I don't know if you're using that as like oh, I'm sorry, I
No.
thought, but no, we
not using
we
it
are
for
allowed
anything.
to have sex.
I'm not
I
using
would
it for
love to
anything.
have
I'm
sex,
asking you.
and I look forward to a little bit of pain when we do it.
Oh,
I'm into that.
okay. That's nice.
I want you to flick me in the nuts.
Jesus Christ.
No, so
Anyways.
I've been told you either have to have sex, you have to ejaculate about 40 times.
Before you have sex?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
No.
Okay.
We can have sex now, like not
Well,
right now. But like that would be weird, Jake.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of shit, but that would be a different one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Let's see that
okay,
in
good to know.
4K.
God, I would never want to look at myself again if I saw myself having sex in 4K.
Yeah, I would like to see myself in like 1.5K.
I'd
Like kind of
to see
blurry.
myself in like -3.
Do you have that on a tube TV with the blurry colors on that old channel that we used to watch? I'd like to watch myself do that
Oh
there.
God.
That's actually not true. I would love to make a sex. I'd love to make a sex video with you.
I wouldn't.
I know you wouldn't.
I would have zero desire to do that.
You can add that filter, like that we do on promos.
Yeah, so true. Paris. Paris. It's just one
Just be
swipe.
glowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like it just kind of just puts like a shine over everything. It's just like, I still wouldn't want it. I still wouldn't want to see. It's more just like the angles, the jiggles, the stuff that's happening during sex where you don't really think about. Like, I wouldn't want to see myself do that.
We talked about
I
sex
wouldn't.
and the visuals, and I was so disappointed to hear that you say the least flattering position for a woman is like my favorite position. for a
No, I
woman.
wouldn't say that for me personally, and I would say for maybe a few. I would assume. I just know that it's not something that I'm like, I feel super attractive in that position.
Yeah, the danglies, right?
I don't think that's like a thing.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
it's a thing. It's
Yeah,
an
it's
awesome
just
thing.
not-
The
it's
visual,
not-
the visual of a woman in front of you with her breasts. Well, not for everybody. I'm not painting I'm painting
but-
my own canvas here.
But it's not
I
what
like
you
it. I
think.
like it a
It's not
lot.
like a woman on top. It's like, anyways, I don't want to get into this. This is weird. Anyway.
That's not what we're talking about. What
It's
were we
not.
talking about? What are we talking about? What we talking about?
Oh, surprise, surprise.
No,
right? It's like, I'm
no,
just kidding.
no.
We actually did have a little bit of a conversation beforehand.
And I was
Yeah.
about 70%
Yeah, it was
of the
great.
conversation. Thank you
I did
very
want
much,
to give
Miss Lippy.
a follow up to the Santa Claus, because people had asked, and if you didn't catch my stories that one day with the counselor, well, we talked about that last week, right? The counselor who tried to ruin Santa Claus. I talked to the program coordinator. I never was like, let me talk to the counselor. And she was super apologetic. And I had just explained, like, obviously this is a conversation that's meant for the parents to have with their children, not a counselor. And it was fine. Like, she was very understanding. She had the conversation with me and then had the intent of, like, you know, having a conversation with the rest of the staff and just making sure that they knew that this was not something that they should be speaking about. But, like, I truly feel like it was not the camp counselor's intent to, like, ruin Santa for them. Like, this camp was very, like, it was a great camp and they've gone multiple years. And so whatever,
It's
everything
actually,
was fine.
believe it or not, it's actually a Christian camp.
It is. And like, I wasn't really going to get into this, but like, we're not like a religious family by any means. So we aren't against it, but we don't actively go to church. Right. So whatever. So these kids were learning about like the Bible. It's a sprinkle of Jesus. That's what people like to say at this camp. Like they're going to have a great time, but there is a sprinkle of Jesus. And we're like, listen,
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm just saying from a family who isn't religious for our friends to prepare us, like, just so you know, like there is some like talk about Jesus. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, whatever. They're probably going to teach me stuff, to be completely honest. So like, I know that the intent of the counselor was not to be cruel, right? It was just, I think she was misguided.
I used the term mean, and you said mean is intentional.
Yeah. And I don't
And
think
I
she was
thought,
intentional.
Mean is intentional.
I
You're
think
right,
so.
Brittany.
Yeah. I don't think she was trying to be,
That was
anyways.
wise of you.
So I had people being like, you handled it well, because I wasn't going to go in there guns blazing. Like, I just didn't know the context of the situation. And unless I'm there listening to everything firsthand, there's always room for context, right? So anyway, it worked out great. The amount of people who were like, you should have done more, this, you need to be more aggressive. And I was just sitting here like, social media is so annoying this way, and it's my own fault because I did share the scenario. But like, had I gone in and been like, this is unacceptable, everyone would have been like, you need to calm down. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, you can't go either way. But it did end fine. Like, hopefully they don't ruin that for anybody else, for any other situations. We're really struggling with camps this year. Like, their camp this week, they're like, don't ever take us back here. And
You
like,
know,
we just
I
said,
never went to camp.
I did.
Never once in my life have I been to a camp.
oh,
like,
I did
ever.
lots. Yeah.
I went like When I was in
it's
school, when I
hard.
was in school, you'd have the overnight, like 2 or 3 days. Like I went to Mount Mary.
Okay.
It was a 3-day camp.
In
technically,
school.
but it was in school.
Yeah.
With my classmates for school. So I don't consider that camp.
No.
I never went to camp. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until I think I was in grade 7. And she babysat all the neighbors' kids for the dual income families that were around us. I always had my mom. We were always at home.
I can
Never been to camp.
definitely.
So I'm looking at my kids thinking like, the fuck's wrong with you guys? You get to go to camp. You get to go on water slides all day long. And you're saying, don't sign me up for this again. Guess what? I won't sign you up for that again.
Oh no, who's gonna watch them?
I don't know.
It's not gonna be me.
I don't have an answer.
Anyways, I do empathize with them sometimes in parts of it because camp is not like school where you have this like consistency of friendships. Like you make a friend, you see them every day, you go through stuff together. Camps are like 1 week. And it's hard to make friends when everyone's just like in different spaces. And sometimes when you go to camp, other people already know each other and it's like really hard. And I can for sure empathize, especially with Riley. I remember I went to this one camp. It was at a church and it was like a theater camp. And I was a theater kid. And I was like, okay, so there's this, I was new and I was probably about 10.
You were new?
Well, I was
What does
new
that mean?
because
Like
a
new
lot
to
of
the
them were
camp?
returning friends. Like they had
okay.
already been to
Okay.
this camp. So I didn't really know how, like what the 411 was and like how things went. And so people who went to this camp were dancers, really good dancers. And then there are singers. And so I went because I liked to sing. And so there was another girl. Her name was
sing.
You sound like James Blunt. Now, beautiful. Like
Thank
even
you.
when you did that.
Thank you. I've been saying that for years, and
I
you've been
know.
making fun of me for years. Validated.
Okay. So
I have.
for real.
Yeah.
So I went
saw
to
her face
there was
in a clouded place,
I'll just let
and
you
I don't
finish.
know what to do.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Thank you.
There was another girl at this
But
camp.
I'll never
Oh.
be with you.
Are you done?
Yeah, I am. I'm just being a dick.
You are being a dick.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake.
You are annoying when you do that. There's another girl, her name was Brittany at this camp, and she was an OG, so she had friends there already, and she was a year older than me, and she was a dancer.
EY or AY?
I don't remember.
Okay.
And so everyone like knew Brittany, and she was like the cool shit there. And I specifically remember we were doing the play Cats. Okay, so there were dancers and then there were singers.
What a stupid play.
And what the fuck? And one of the numbers was Mr. Mistopheles. And that was my, like, I got to sing that one. And so one day we were practicing and people were like, Brittany. And so I turned around and they were like, oh, not you, like the other Brittany. And I was like fucking devastated. And then there's a part in Mr. Mistopheles where the line that you sing is, and he likes to cheat at cards. Okay.
Yeah.
So that don't ask me why I remember this. And so during this line, when I
Core
was
memory.
singing, this other girl, Brittany, was dancing around and doing her like dance number. Okay. Like I was the backup and like the show was about her, which is bizarre because you would think that the singer would be like this main star, but whatever.
Probably the cat was.
So we were all cats. I was also dressed as a cat.
Oh, fair.
So
I wasn't there.
when I sang that line, she would like do this move and then she'd like put her hands up in her face like as if she was playing cards like this. And so everyone was like, oh, that's so good. And they loved that part. So then the day of the performance, when all of our parents and friends came, for whatever reason, I sang this line and I did that as I was singing. I really didn't dance like while I was singing. I just kind of like keeping the beat, but I did like, and he likes to cheat at cards. And I did that thing. After our performance, she looked at me and she was like, why did you take my move? Everyone was staring at you. That was my move. And she fucking ripped into me for putting my hand up during her performance.
Calm down, Brittany.
And then somebody was like, oh my God, Brittany, that was so good. I love that one part. And she turned, she was like, thank you. And they're like, I was talking to the other Brittany. And I was like, oh, snap. I don't know why I told you this story. I don't know why I remembered everything so vividly there.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyways,
That's
my story. So back to
If you're still
the
here,
empathize.
if you're still here,
You're still.
Yeah. Thank you for going through that journey with us.
I was trying to say camp can be scary and it can be mean and friends are assholes and like other people are just hard to get along with sometimes.
But camp is
and I
good for
understand.
kids.
It is
Change
good.
is good for kids. Not having your best friend
Yes.
there is the best thing for you. When I was in grade 3, all of my buddies were in Miss Cher's class, Miss Sharunagratsky. And it was the best, worst year because she wasn't the nicest to me, but it was the best, worst year ever. The next year, every single one of my friends in that class was in a different class, and I was excluded from that class. And I'm not going to go the whole year without making new friends. It ended up being the best for me. So having their kids go, having them go in for a week, meet new people, come out, these are things that are extremely important for them to be able to do. Always leaning on your best friend being there is a crutch. So I like it. I think it's great for them. Is it uncomfortable? Day 1, sure. Day 2, maybe. By day 3, they're into it. They're in the swing of it. I dropped them off today. All of them said, like, see you later, Dad. Get out of here. I'm like, don't mind if I do. Don't mind if I do. I want to have a conversation with you. Well, I don't want to. I'm going to have a conversation with you about the epiphany I had this morning.
Okay.
So you remember the conversation we had last week about men not spending enough time on like men and like getting into the role of dad and being that guy and not like having
Not that
fun,
guy, bro.
not building a network of friends. I went on my walk this morning, and as I went on my walk, I was listening to tranquility music, but not tranquility music, but I was listening to like a
frequency,
right? Which is changing your moods, like that kind of stuff. And I passed
all the dogs passing him are like,
yeah. What, Shawnee? I can't hear. What are you talking about? It's in my ears. Yeah, anyways.
classic Ryan taking my joke and just fucking running.
Classic Ryan. Yeah. Whatever. So anyways, I walked past my buddy Dave's old house. And we talked about Dave on the podcast quite some time ago. And I always acknowledge him. Sometimes I forget, and then I feel like shit when I do that. But today I
When you walk
acknowledged
by
him.
his house.
I walked by his
Yeah.
house, and I just said to him, I said, I really miss you. And something clicked.
I need therapy.
I need therapy. Yeah. Not need.
Slow clap. Anyone? Are you crying?
No,
You
No.
are.
no, these are just my eyes.
These are just, yeah, are you crying, Jake? No, these are just my eyes. My eyes are wet right now.
Always.
Yeah. I realized that the network of guys, the time that I allocate to my friends stopped when Dave passed. It just did. Dave, if you looked at Ryan Ostafy before Dave's passing and then after Dave's passing, I had the network of friends. I partied and hung out with them and spent time
Also,
with them.
different time in your life.
Of course, different time in my life. But then this was my epiphany. I remember doing the eulogy or one of the eulogies at Cleverly's funeral or celebration of life. And I had said something that I have taken with me for the rest of my life. I said, Dave didn't have the opportunity to do anything. Now I have the obligation to. And for me, it's like, well, what does that look like? That looks like raising a family, providing for that family, doing what's right by my family. And it's like really being like, for me, not someone else's definition of it, but for me, it's being a man. Mm-hmm. Cleverly never got the opportunity to become a man. We were boys. He never got the opportunity to become a man. And from that day forward, I made it a priority to just be a man.
Right.
And to provide and to look after and to take care of and to push the boy stuff aside. And it wasn't until I said, I really miss you today, that I thought, oh shit, I stopped being that and just became something entirely different out of almost at the time what felt like a need. For me to do Dave right, I had to be a better version of me. And I stopped being a version of me. And so, yeah, maybe therapy is an option for me at this point in time in my life.
Well, I feel like we've talked about it so much in like maybe a little bit of a lighthearted manner, but I do seriously hope that you pursue something in that avenue, because I think the worst thing that can happen is you can say, okay, I talked, my stuff out. I got some advice. This is how I feel. Like, it's not going to do anything negative. That's all I think.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to the conversations that you and I have been having, and maybe we have that conversation right now. It's like there's this old, I don't know what you call it, not a proverb, but what's a story? What's a fable? What is that called? A fable? Yeah, maybe it's a fable. Maybe it's a fable. There's old fable of this man who worked really, really, really hard. He was a successful businessman, and his wife just kept begging him to go on vacation. And then finally he gave up and went on vacation. And he was miserable day 1, miserable day 2. But by day 3, he started to kind of relax and feel the beach and feel the ocean and realize he was on vacation. And when he did so, he noticed this man coming out of the ocean with a little teeny boat and all of these fish. And so he kind of watched this guy go up, and he left, and he seemed happy and all of this stuff. And so the next day he did the same thing. And then the next day, by the third day, he's like, listen, man, I have to talk to you. He said, I see you every single day coming out of the ocean with all of this fish. What do you do with those fish? He said, I go up to my village, I sell a bunch of those fish, and then I cook the fish and hang out with my friends and my family members, and we have some drinks, celebrate, and eat fish.
Mm-hmm.
He
Get
said,
up and do it again?
And you do that every day? He said, yeah, I do that every day. He's like, well, listen, man, I'm a very successful businessman, and I think I've got a plan for you. I've been thinking about it all day. He's like, all right, what's the plan? He's like, you need to buy another boat. Guy's like, okay, why would I buy another boat? He said, you buy another boat, you get another guy, and you teach him how to fish. And then now you'll collect all of your fish, he'll collect all of his fish. When you come up, now you're selling double the amount of fish. He's like, okay, well then what would I do? He said, well then you get another boat and you do the exact same thing. He said, okay, well then what would I do after that? He said, well, then you would not be in the boat. You'd have all of your crew in the boat, and then you would just be on the outside, and they would be coming in and all of these things, and you'd just build bigger boats and bigger crews and all of these things. And he said, okay, well, when that's all done, what would you do? He said, well, when you've got a huge crew of people and you're making money left, right, and center, and you're not the one working, you hang out with your friends, drink beers, and eat fish. Guy says, well, I'm doing that right now. Mm-hmm. And so I say this as a prelude to what we're going to talk about. It's you and I have not been at each other's throats or anything along those lines, but there's been tension and stress, and there's been tension and stress and all of these things going on in our lives. We've taken on a lot of things in the last 2 years. And for me, it was always like, what is it I want in my life, right? And so we had a great conversation not too long ago about like, what do we want our lives to look like? Yeah. And we started to define what we wanted to look like, the amount of time we spend with our kids, the amount of time we spend with ourselves, the amount of time we work, the amount of time we go on vacation. We started to like really dissect what we want life to look like. And it hit me and made me really sad that everything that we defined we wanted in our lives, we had in our lives. Mm-hmm. We had all of those things in our lives. And then we decided for some fucking reason to take on way more things. Like the things that we wanted in our lives, we had them, but we wanted more of them for some reason. And so we did. We've taken on businesses. We've taken on opportunities. We've grown this podcast. We've built this thing out. And as we get closer and closer and closer to those things, all it really comes down to is I had to give up all of the things I wanted to get the things I already had.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a clusterfuck, isn't it?
It's a total clusterfuck.
I think that it's like, obviously you can have ambitions and you want to start new businesses and maybe like veer in different directions. And like, that's not really what we're saying. It's more just like when you have your hands in so many baskets, like they're not all going to thrive. Like, it's just impossible. You're spreading yourself too thin. And that's inevitably going to bleed into other parts of your life, in your marriage, in your relationship, in your family. And it's really hard. Like, we're not going to sit here and say it's not hard. Like, it's really hard. Like, and doing all of these things behind the scenes can be very stressful on us, like as our relationship and our kids and how it affects us and our friendships and everything. And there's definitely going to be some changes moving forward, but it was just a kind of like a wake-up call, I would say, because we had a very honest conversation, I would say 2 weeks ago on the couch. And I was like,
3
listen,
weeks ago, but yeah.
okay.
2 weeks ago, I was getting my balls taken off.
We need to talk. Like it's something that like I think that we both knew where the direction was going with the whole like stuff that's happening in the background and the changes that we need to make in multiple avenues of our life. But we didn't really want to face because change is sometimes hard and it's confronting.
And we're not alone. Like when you build something that's bigger than yourself, it requires teams and teamworks to make it work and to be successful. And so any decision that you make, once you've built the team, any decision that you make impacts the team and it impacts the group as a whole.
But I also think this is something like for you personally, like you and how you function, has been hard for you and confronting for you because you have always been a person who is like, all right, like what's next? I want more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're very ambitious. And that's one of the things I love about you, your ambition, but it's also a detriment to you because you have a problem with being like idle, not even idle, just like, okay, this is working. So that means like, we're not like, what else could we do? What else could we bring in? And sometimes that is very hard to manage because it's always like, what else are we getting? What are we doing? And I think that you have been working at this over the last couple of years because you've been very, like, I've been very vocal in telling you that. Like, you're always like, what's next? Where I'm like, can we sit in this space? Like, let's sit in this space. You're really good at sitting in this space of our kids and just being present in their lives because you're always like, we're never going to have it better than we do right now in our age, still young enough, still working our careers. But our kids still want to hang out with us. And there's so much magic still there. You're good at seeing that because you're like, this is the best time of our life. But that quickly fades when it's like another business or another venture. Like you don't have that same perspective over there.
No, I don't. I remember
so
being
aggressive.
I remember being like 24 years of age, maybe 25. And my company flew me out to Florida to help move somebody back. And this individual, her name was Kristen. She says, hey, I want to take you to this special place on the beach. It was right on this pier and you had to go up. It's like 3 or 4 stories high and it's just a lookout, right? And so you get to see the whole beach. You get to see all of the ocean. It really is quite magical. And I remember getting up there and it was hot as fucking tits. And we finally get up there and I didn't think I was out of shape at that time, but 4 flights of stairs in like 112 degree weather, I was tired. So I got up there, I'm looking out there, I'm like, this is amazing. This is so beautiful. I'm like, all right, you ready to go? And she's like, what's wrong with you? Like, what do you mean? She's like, you always do this. You're always on to the next thing. She's like, why don't you just take a moment to just recognize what this looks like and just be up here? We walked all the way up here. We walked all the way up here. Just take it in. I'm like, I took it in. I saw it. Now what are we doing?
You know what though? Because I kind of felt that way when I climbed in Hawaii, when we climbed, oh my God, what was that mountain called?
I don't know. I wasn't invited.
Okay. Anyways,
I'm
it was I forgot, why am I blanking? Anyways,
It was not Sacagawea. Nope. But great name.
Peak something mountain.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was a big mountain and it was strenuous to get up. And then when we got up there, I was really trying to just like take in it was just so powerful being up there. It was fucking wild. So beautiful. However, there was also so many other people around. I was with a good friend of mine. We were both kind
She
of tired.
likes it in the ass.
Oh yeah, that's the same. The same conversation. And we knew that we had like people waiting. We were kind of on a timeline, but not really. But I was with her, and so I think part of your brain is like unintentionally being aware of these things. So you're kind of like, okay, let's go. Had I climbed that by myself with no like pressure to like finish, I probably would have stayed up there much longer.
How do I not turn that into a pun?
Pressure to finish?
Yeah, I would have just stayed up there all night long.
Yeah. I just, yeah. Anyways.
Like Dragon's Peak or something?
No.
Yeah, Diamond Head.
Yes, Diamond Head. I will say this, and this is kind of like the PSA, and the reason that we're having this conversation, then we can kind of go into, the impacts that exist after the fact. But if you're listening to this podcast, I think as a parent, and I'm not saying all of you are parents, but a majority of you are parents. You have this clock that is ticking, and it's not ticking ahead, it's ticking back at you. It feels like you're running out of time constantly. You're seeing your kids evolve so quickly. You're seeing them grow so quickly.
So it's a countdown.
It's a countdown. Yeah, it's not a clock, it's a countdown. And when you're in a countdown stage, it feels very survival like, and you never feel like you're doing enough.
And it all comes back to you when your kids are sleeping and you're sitting in your silence and you're like, fuck, could have done better today.
Yeah, but like there's also this like lingering pressure, especially in today's economy, right? We know that it's going to be way more difficult for our kids than it was for us, just like it was way more difficult for us than it was for our parents. And that was the first generation where that actually existed. But we know that our kids are going to be coming into a financial situation where buying a house is a difficult thing, and owning anything is going to become a difficult thing. And so you feel this like obligation to provide a life, not just today for them, but in the future for them. And so you take on more risks, you take on more work, you take on more pressure. But my request for you guys, or my invitation, I guess you can say, for you guys, is to really do an assessment on what does life look like from a future fulfilled for you, and really realize that you're probably way closer to it than you actually think.
Yeah.
It's the pressure of the clock ticking that makes you feel like you're behind the 8 ball. You're probably not. And the only thing that's really robbing you of the joy that you have in your life is that pressure. That pressure can look like comparison. They say comparison is the
thief of joy.
The what?
The thief of joy.
The thief of joy. And maybe there's something to be said about that. We live in a world right now where, people show the best versions of themselves online. So you see the best of the best.
So you're assuming that's them all the time.
Yeah. And you think that that's them all the time, but you also see a lot of people winning online all the time, or your definition of winning all the time. And so it's really easy to think I'm not where they're at. And if I'm not where they're at, then I'm failing at where I'm at. And that's not necessarily true. When we looked at our lives and we did a little check-in on our lives, the things that mattered to us and the life that we wanted to live and the future that we wanted to have in that life, and then where we wanted our present life to be, it was all there. It was all there. It was just being ignored.
Yeah.
And so my request or invitation for you guys is to really do a check-in with yourselves, with your marriages, and really see, if I don't compare myself to Johnny Be Good beside me, or like the Joneses on the left of me, if I just do an inventory on what matters to me, what matters to my partner, what matters to my kids, you'd be shocked at how little you actually have to do to make everyone happy.
Obviously, this is separating, like, obviously financial pressures and everything you are sacrificing, but we just mean at the core of like what's important to you. But let's end this podcast with something that was one of the funniest things. I think we referred to this a couple podcasts ago, but I did find the clip of the kids swearing that song, "I don't fuck with you." Like, so there's a song, I think we talked about this, but I never found the clip, right? Anyways, we found the clip.
We didn't talk about this.
No,
we did not.
We didn't?
Last podcast we were going to talk about it. You couldn't find the clip, so we didn't talk about it. But now
so
we
let
have it.
the kids. There's a song that has like multiple swear words in it, and like we're very much of the understanding, and our kids know this. Like, if you are hurt, you can say, "Oh shit!" Like in our house, in the car, as long as you're not projecting these swear words at other people, and you can have some responsibility in that sense. Like, we're not going to like penalize you for swearing or saying a bad word, but like, let's not get it out of hand. So the one night there's a song, and Riley likes to sing it, but she's like, "Oh, there's bad words." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you guys can sing it like one time." So they each sang the verse one time, and then Cooper was like, "It's my turn." And there's something about children swearing so aggressively that made us cackle. And so I have the clip, and we're gonna leave you with that.
I will say, like,
or we're gonna leave you with Ryan.
No, this is the same. It's the segue for this. I've always been, when you're with me, you can swear. If you wanna get it out, you wanna say it.
But it has to be intentional. Like, I don't want you teaching your kids that they can just like drop F-bombs everywhere. Like,
I'm not
if they're
saying
hurt, or like if it's in a song, fine, in the car, but I don't want them just being like, "You know what, fuck this day." Like, they need They need to have some structure because especially Cooper, like he's one to just like kind of forget. And I can just picture him in grade 1 being like, I'm in fucking grade 1, bitches. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, my dad said I could say that.
No, I understand that. And again, it's one of those things where for me, it's a learning opportunity for them. It's an opportunity for them to discover what is right and what is wrong in what setting is this acceptable and what setting is this not acceptable. I always felt like as a kid, we were not allowed to swear. Like my sister Michelle and Laura, they used to share the word fuck.
Yeah, you said this.
Michelle would say "fuh" and my sister Laura would say "kuh," and then they'd say "you." Like we just had this fear that we would get in so much trouble if we were to swear that it actually makes you want to swear more, right? And so when it comes to Riley and when it comes to Cooper, listen, I don't need to be their best friend, but I need them to know that they can rely on me, depend on me, to allow them to be human beings and to discover these things.
Right.
And so I let them say these things sometimes out loud and we laugh about them and we joke about them, but they know that the tail end of this is this happens in this car or this happens in this house. This does not happen outside. And there are repercussions that occur when you do this outside these walls. And so to sit in the bed, and I will say that this for some reason was like Hawaii for me. We're in the bed together, all 4 of us. They're about to go to sleep. And we just let them be themselves, their authentic selves. We allowed them to swear. We all laughed. We all celebrated.
And they just went to sleep.
And then it's just so
loved
peacefully.
And happy and just like, you know what I mean? There was no fear. There was no stress in life. They were just like, that was really fun. So.
And I want to do that more, not necessarily the swearing part. That's what I want more with my kids.
Swear with my kids more.
I want that time with my kids. I do realize that it is a clock. I do realize that it is ticking. I do realize that we're against time. And so the choice is, do you resist that time or do you embrace that time? And for me, I want to embrace that time. And if it looks like our kids in bed laughing together and saying a couple cuss words, then I'm all for that because I was in tears. So we'll leave you with the audio of Riley and Cooper feeling fully self-expressed and free to say whatever the fuck they want.
So you can say this in the safety of this room because you're not intentionally being rude to anybody else, okay?
Yeah.
This is just a song.
This is what happens when you let your kids sing whatever they want to sing.
All right, who's going first?
Me.
Okay.
I'm going last.
All right.
Who's going to sit in your mom's head?
I don't fuck with you. you little stupid ass bitch. I ain't fucking with you. I had a million trillion things that I'd rather fucking do. Yeah.
Okay. Is it,
I don't fuck with you.
Is it out of your...
All right, Cooper.
No, we don't need to sing it. We don't.
Cooper, this is your
know.
turn.
We say these words all the time.
I don't
You
have
can-
it.
Hey,
Okay, go.
I don't these nuts with you. You stupid ass bitch, fuck you. You little stupid fuck. That's it.
That's perfect. That's
All right. Is that your system?
Can I hear it?
You little bitch, fuck you.
Good night.
There goes a sight from my soul.